Have you ever cried in front of your GF/wife? If so, how were you perceived by her after? Remember, if you wanna spot the red flag early, you can always just show your emotions. Shallow women won't stick around for long, and that's good that you've dodged that bullet. This is true. My ex used to look at a man crying as some sort of personal failure. She had a really messed up view of relationships in general. I'm very sorry. Good to hear she is an ex though. Yeah. I nursed my awesome father to death for 3 months in his home until he died in front of me. I cried a lot over that time. I don't give a flying F how anybody perceives that. I lost my wife of 21 years last year after a long battle with cancer. People really don't understand how profound grief is, especially for the caregiver, until they experience it for themselves. I'm sorry for your loss. A few times, when I told her I wanted my mom to pass away because cancer had destroyed her, when I told her I was raped, and when our daughter was born. The first one happened at an anniversary dinner, and she came over to my side, paid the check, ordered an Uber, and held me while we waited and while we were on the car home. The second time we were in bed and she hugged me really tight and told me I was safe and loved and that she was there for me. Lay there for about an hour. The final time, she was crying too. It hasn't changed anything between us. If you can't cry in front of the person you love, something is seriously wrong, right? Like, I hope you do cry in front of her. It will likely enhance your emotional bond and hopefully create a safe space for both of you to explore your emotions openly. Yes, I have. I was perceived the exact same way as I was before I did it. Yup, same here. Just got laid off and spent a week depressed. She got me centered and focused on next steps. Yes, and it was a good thing actually. I have a hard time with empathy and expressing emotions after my childhood. It's been years now since the first cry, but it was like a plug was pulled. It didn't happen all at once, but over the years I have become a much sweeter teddy bear. We girls love us some teddy bears. Sure. For example, when we had to put my childhood cat down, she was over 20. Wife was right there crying with me. She hasn't treated me differently because she's actually a good person. Sorry for your loss. I was with my husband when his childhood cat had to be put to sleep. His parents found it too hard to be in the room, so it was us who held him and pet him while he was sedated and died. My husband cried, and so did I, for a cat I barely knew. But how could I not share my partner's pain? There have been other times, and I'm sure there will be more, but I have never looked at him differently. If anything, I'm glad that he trusts me when he is vulnerable. My ex-wife acted like I was a burden. The person I'm dating now helps me deal with it and is really kind. Then we go back to normal. Upgrades. Upgrades, people. Upgrades. Yeah. I was working 80+ hour weeks, not doing a great job at it, and my mental health was in a pretty rough spot. Felt like I couldn't do anything right. We were sitting on the bed and she started criticizing me about something or other, which normally wouldn't have been a big deal. But I just couldn't handle one more thing. One more person telling me I was no good. So I broke down. It surprised her, because she hadn't ever seen me cry before. But she took it easier on me after that, and we got through the 80-hour weeks. Good lord. How long were you doing that, and what job requires that? Could have been multiple jobs. Sadly, there's many places in this world where you have to work 80+ hours a week or else you can barely afford to die. Wow. I didn't realize this was a thing people don't do. I've cried with and to my wife many times over the years we've been together. She obviously still sees me the same afterward, in my opinion. If you can't be openly emotional with your spouse, who's supposed to be your best friend in the world, your marriage is headed in the wrong direction. My partner has cried in front of me once. In fact, we just moved house, which was a massive step, and he ran downstairs and just hugged me on the floor. I just treated him like how his mates would treat him, but out of love as his partner, so he felt like an equal. Hug your partners, people. They're human too. I'm not much of a crier. No real reason for it other than they just don't come. I've been so sad, distraught and broken feeling that I couldn't breathe. But tears just didn't. In the 20 plus years I've known my wife, I've cried in front of her exactly once. And that was when I got to my dad's bedside too late and he had already passed minutes before. She's never treated me or looked at me any differently. Correction, I've cried twice. I remember that I teared up at the end of chapter 22 of A Meeting at Corvallis, Acre, Mike Havel's death scene. I was father to the land. I saved my people. I was king. By earth. By sky. Apostrophe. Kinda similar here. Like I've went through very difficult situations where even breathing was hard but didn't really cry. Then I'll get teary-eyed watching a ref movie. I guess it all depends what you're crying about. With the good women I've cried in front of were very loving and affectionate and didn't see me as weak because they were legit reasons. The pose women were assholes about it and I left them. As far as I'm concerned, I'm human and have emotions. If I can't express them, especially to my significant other, then I'm out there. I learned the hard way that when the woman you are with is immature, it's probably the worst thing to do, or the best thing. It'll help you realize you're with the wrong person, so you can dodge a future bullet and find someone who supports you at your most vulnerable. Yeah, best is the appropriate answer. Imagine you experience something horrible and your partner doesn't give a F about your emotions. That's probably the reddest of all flags I can imagine. Why would anyone want to be with such a person? The only time I really full cried was when my dog died. It was the worst time she's seen me cry. I'm pretty sure she thought nothing of it. Yes, once, when my father died. We aren't together now. Bullet dodged, bro. They are not all like that. I mean, I don't think he was implying they split up because he cried when his father died. I read that as two separate statements. Yeah, of course. Happy cry and sad cry. She's seen me hold our kid for the first time, and she's seen me bury friends and family, and everything in between. What kind of weirdo lives any sort of life at all and never cries? I'm that weirdo. Nothing against crying. I just can't seem to do it. I haven't eked out a tear since I was probably 9 or 10 years old. Funerals of loved ones, birth of my kids, etc. Nothing. I feel sad at times, but I literally can't cry. Like I said in another comment, it's not anything physical. If I pulled out a nose hair my eyes would water, which means there has to be a mental block or something. Was raised in a military family, father and uncle's army, grandfathers both Air Force. I went to the Marine Corps. I can't ever remember seeing a male family member cry. Apparently it became so ingrained that it became a mental block. With that said, I do feel extremely uncomfortable when I see a man cry. Almost a cringe feeling, likely from never seeing it happen while growing up. I know that's fucked up and not a normal response, but I guess we are all a product of our environment and experiences. I'm currently single, but none of my girlfriends have responded well, despite accusing me of not opening up enough. If it's something like a movie, it ranges from thinking it's cute to making fun of me over it. If it's because of life events, my feelings are either dismissed, or my personal favorite somehow flipped so that I'm back to emotional supporting her. Then they're either never brought up again, or used as weak spot when she's arguing with me. My mom is literally the only woman who's ever genuinely cared about my emotional well-being. Many times, she loves me all the same. There's nothing wrong with it. I encourage it. Either you bottle it up and project your failures and insecurities and traumas to the people you love, or you let it out for 5 minutes and move on with a clearer head. The only time she gets annoyed when I cry is when I'm drunk as a skunk watching Blood in Blood Out. The boys will understand. If you don't feel comfortable crying in front of so she's not the right person. Bro, what if you don't feel comfortable crying in front of anybody ever? That could mean there is a bigger problem there. We all have the right to feel vulnerable at times. Yes, a few times. She treats me the same. Yes, genuine in my feelings. My wife told me early on in our relationship about a past boyfriend that cried during a fight, and she told him to stop being a crybaby. I vowed to myself to never cry in front of her. 19 years later, and I have never cried in front of her. It's mostly subconscious now, but that comment has defined me. The sad thing is that she probably doesn't even remember saying that, and for the last several years has acted disappointed that I never cry in front of her. Your loss. I'm sorry. My BF has never cried in front of me, even when his good cousin died, and there was a highly televised funeral. Very sad and deep, still no tears. I kinda wish I could see him cry, but I know some people just don't. My husband's friend came over and cried for a few seconds right in front of us. I actually respect him for showing his emotions. He had a good reason to cry too. Crying is human. It's not a gender thing. So please, men, don't be ashamed to show your emotions. If someone can't handle it, it's on them. Dumped within 2 months. Bullet dodged. My long-term BF has cried several times in front of me, just like I have plenty of times in front of him. He's human. I don't perceive him any differently than before. If you can't express emotions to your partner, I think there's something that needs to be addressed, changed, or you might need to end the relationship. Once, cried in front of this girl I was dating, and it was used against me literally the next day. Yes, she is fine with it. I even cry at sad films. She thinks it's cute. She knows I'm still her man, and I know I'm still a man. I want to experience the full suite of human emotions.